Lecture, a new week in personal finance. I'm Jim Munchback, and we're going to get started here in just a minute. Let me do a little playing around, see if I can get my iPad to show. Why is my iPad not showing? We're having a momentary technical difficulty. Give me just a second. There we go. Not sure why it did that, but we are rolling. So we're going to get started in just a minute. It's only 10:01 a.m. And I am live. We should be live on YouTube, Facebook, X, LinkedIn. Where else? Maybe a place or two. But anyway, welcome. If you're a student in personal finance, you're in the right place. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or somewhere else, feel free to leave a comment and say hello. We are live streaming this, so it's an asynchronous course, and we are in summer school 2025. So this is the credit crush assignment. That's what we're going to do today. And I'm going to jump through a couple of things. But first, before we get started, I was going to show you Maddie. I think I mentioned my granddaughter Maddie and my grandson Caleb, and we had a chance to hang out a little bit for Father's Day, which was awesome. But Maddie jumped into my studio to show me her ears, and actually they weren't her ears at all. They were Caleb's ears. So there you have it. There's Caleb and Maddie, and they're two amazing blessings in my life. So we will bring you back some more cool pictures and videos of Caleb and Maddie at some point. But for now, let's focus on what we're going to do. I just want to let you know, if you look in the description in the video, you'll have a link to the post that I'm looking at here. This is just, it's got an older, right now it has an older Credit Crush lecture. So that'll be updated. But this video that you're watching now, this live stream, will be in our playlist. And you know how to find that playlist. You go to uhplaylist.com and it should take you right here. So I've got a couple of class collaboration secrets. I'm going to talk about them in a minute throughout the lecture. But one of them is just the question about being debt-free. So when we get started here in a minute, we're going to talk about how to manage your debt in such a way that you can eliminate it. And that's the whole point of the Credit Crush assignment, is to eliminate your debt, to be debt-free. And so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story and why this lesson is part of the course. I think it's an important lesson. It's one of my favorite lessons as far as what you're going to learn, or what you potentially could learn this week about debt and managing debt. This lesson, in my opinion, can be one of the most valuable, important lessons in personal finance. You will recall that the first law of personal finance is the law of spending and saving. Spend less than you earn so you can save more for what matters most. And for most of us in this culture of consumerism, we have discovered that in our culture of consumerism, the advertising, the marketing that we are a target of, and you are the biggest target on the planet when it comes to marketing. And so because we live in a culture of consumerism, you're constantly bombarded with a message that you deserve more, more, more. And that's really the nature of a culture like ours, a culture of consumerism. And so this lesson is to kind of set the table and kind of help you think about this culture of consumerism, the water we swim in, as far as the messages that we are bombarded with every day. It's like they're our default mode. And one of them is because you deserve a break today. I think that's McDonald's. Anyway, you get it. The marketing messages are always trying to entice you to buy more. And in this culture of consumerism, it is very expensive to live according to the default of our culture. And one way that it gets expensive, one way that we fall into a trap, and many, many people do, get buried in debt because we use credit to purchase things we don't really have the money to purchase, things that we want. And I always like to say that living in a culture of consumerism, it is a very expensive way to live. Looking good is very expensive, and most of us are prone to wanting to look good and not look bad. And that means buying better clothes, nicer cars, bigger houses, jewelry, whatever it is that we think will make us look good and not look bad. We are willing to spend a lot of money on that. And that's expensive. And so this week's lesson, the Credit Crush assignment, is really just to get you to think about the cost of debt, and I'll show you some strategies for being smart about paying off your debt and how to do that. So that's what this week's lesson is about, and we are now really we're going. So hopefully, if you haven't already, if you want to be notified when we uh, post these, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Jim Munchback. That's my channel. We have a playlist every semester. This semester, if you go to uhplaylist.com, it will just take you to a playlist on my channel. That's where this video will be after I finish the live stream. But if you want to be notified when I post these lectures, then just subscribe to the channel. And if you want to hit the like button, that helps the algorithm, feed you more of the same content. This is this is summer school, and I just wanted to remind you that this is my last summer to teach. I'm taking a year off, a sabbatical, and I will decide what to do after that year, but this is my last summer to teach. So thank you for those of you who gave me your class collaboration this week and told me why you are taking summer school. Many of you said it was because you didn't want to be piled up with credits that you needed next semester when you graduate. So that's a good reason to take summer school. I avoided it through college myself, and then I ended up taking 21 hours my last semester, and I still have nightmares about that, but enough about me. Okay, let's jump in. So this is kind of the agenda, the consumerism and your financial future. It's really what we're going to do in this lesson. And your assignment, this is kind of a list of what you're going to do. Let me see if I can. I'm going to jump in here and do this. And here we go. So this is really just an overview of what you're going to do in your assignment this week. It's all lined out there in Canvas. But one thing I wanted to just mention is this week's assignment, for those of you who are in summer school, this week's assignment is really 2 weeks assignment in the regular semester. So I'm combining it to put it all into one, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview and then show you. I'm going to jump into a financial plan in RightCapital, and I will show you how to do your assignment. But for now, let me just quickly go through what I want you to do, what you will be required to do. So you're going to start out with making yourself 10 years older. And I know for most of you, you are just now getting set up in RightCapital, and that's awesome. And I, again, apologize for the issues we had with the landing page and the sign-up page. But it looks like most of you, almost all of you, have already signed up and you're in. And I'm getting the messages, the email messages that tell me you've completed those first 6 data cards. So good on you. Thank you for that. So now I'm just going to ask you to go back in, log in, make sure you keep that link, put it in your favorites or pin it or whatever you want to do. But make sure you save that link. And gosh, so many of you are using, I've got students who have sent in 4 different emails, like you've signed up 4 different times on the the link that I sent you with 4 different emails. That's going to be really confusing for you. So yeah, you might want to pick one and stick with it and use that to log in, because that's the one with that password for that email. So I'm sure I'll have to talk about that more soon, but that's all I'm going to say about it right now. So you're going to have to go back in. That means log back in with the correct email that you used to set up your account with Bayrock and RightCapital, and you're going to set your birthday so that you're 10 years older. Okay, that's an important part of this week's assignment. I want a screenshot showing that you've done that, because you'll see why as we go forward. So you're going to do 10 years older, and the reason for that, uh-oh, I hit the wrong button. The reason for that is because I want you to do a little research this week and come up with a reasonable income for the dream job that you hope you will get when you graduate. So I want you to come up with a number. How much will you make when you graduate? And then also I want you to be doing some research about the expenses that you're going to have after you graduate. So right now, your expenses may be being paid by your parents or your student loans or, whatever. But those expenses are going to change once you graduate, and especially once you buy a house and set up your life. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to start thinking about the next 10 years after you graduate, and I want you to make some assumptions. And these assumptions are going to require you to do a little research. And the first thing is to figure out, how much are you going to make if you get the job that you want to get in your field when you graduate? What does that job pay? That's an important part of this week's assignment. And you're going to see that data card for income, and you're going to update that data card as if you're 10 years older and as if you got that dream job. So and the same thing with expenses. You're going to do both of those little important pieces of research. I'm going to show you the most important screenshot, and this is not just for the Credit Crush assignment. It's the most important screenshot for your capstone. And I'm just going to mention right now that starting now, as we go forward through the semester, most of, not all of, but most of the assignments that you're going to do, including this week's assignment, is going to be part of your capstone assignment. So I want you just to know that what we're doing now as we build your financial plan, as we work in RightCapital, where you set up your account with Bayrock and RightCapital, as you build that financial plan, you're going to be, hold on, I got to get rid of something here real quick. Sorry about that. You're going to be doing assignments, creating content in your financial plan that you will use in your capstone. So if you get it right, like this week's assignment, if you spend a little time and you pay attention and you get the right screenshots and you set it up, then you're going to find that your capstone assignment is going to be really easy and pretty much already done. If you miss things, if you struggle with this week's assignments and future assignments, you're going to find that you're going to need to do some work to make those corrections and figure it out before you do the capstone assignment. Otherwise, you will have deductions in your capstone assignment. So there we go. Let's see if we can get started now. Oh, that's the next one. Let me see. Here we go. I'm going to jump in here. Actually, what I want to do now is, that's crazy. Let me go here. back to the iPad, and you should be seeing my iPad now. Now what I'm going to do is jump into a financial plan. I'm going to log in again. Not sure why. I'm just going to show you just like what you will see when you log in to your financial plan. Let me get Billy up. Billy, come on, Billy, show me Billy. There's Billy. So Billy is a character who you will get to learn a little bit about uh, as you do your homework this week. And this is Billy's dashboard. This is his snapshot, his dashboard. You can see right there, that's dashboard. That should be where you land when you log into your financial plan at RightCapital. So this is Billy's plan. It's kind of what I call a Frankenstein plan because I use it as an example, sample, and I make all kinds of changes. And sometimes it creates all kinds of outcomes that were not really intended. And on that point, let me just mention, uh, that this is your financial plan and you can do whatever you want in your financial plan. But what I would encourage you to do during the semester is don't do that. Don't do whatever you want to do in your financial plan. Just stick to the specific things that I'm asking you to do, because everything I'm asking you to do has been thought through in the context of me helping you create a financial plan that will teach you along the way how personal finance works and how each of the elements of a holistic financial plan kind of fit together to not only create a comprehensive financial plan, but more importantly for you, they all fit together in a way that gives me a sort of scope and sequence in teaching you about personal finance. So I want to teach you, and the goal of the course is to teach you how to become a millionaire by the time you turn 50. But if your goal is to become a billionaire by the time you turn 50, and if your goal is to own, $20 million in real estate, and you start using your financial plan, adding a new house in 10 years, or upgrading your house in 20 years, or any of those things that you very well may want to do in your financial plan, if you start doing that during the semester, you're going to create all kinds of mayhem or unexpected results in your financial plan. And you're going to need my help to fix them. And yes, I'll be happy to help you fix them when I have time. But I would encourage you to don't do that, because the more you do on your own to experiment, the more issues you're going to have in complicating your financial plan in a way that's going to make your capstone assignment out of whack. So please, just keep that in mind. You're welcome to do whatever you want when the semester's over after you've submitted your capstone. In the meantime, if you have to experiment, and I get that I have to experiment. If I were you and my professor was telling me I couldn't do this, or not to do this, or warning me that I shouldn't do this, then guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do that. So yeah, if you want to experiment, do your experiment and then delete it. Don't save it. So anyway, enough said about that. This is Billy's plan. First thing I want you to know is this week we're going to be talking about debt. So debt used to be one of these navigational links. So what you're seeing now is, again, Billy's plan. Billy is, that's Billy Adams. He's a make-believe character who, Billy and Sally, there's a story. You're going to read a story about Billy and Sally. And when I first started teaching this course, I met this guy, Billy. His name was Billy, but not Billy Adams. And we were at a Firestone automotive shop. I needed to get some work done on my car. Billy was there with his pickup truck, a Ford F-150, and he needed some tires. He had a coupon, and he came and he lived with his parents, and he worked at Marathon, a plant in Texas City where I owned some vending machines. So we had something in common. I got to know him, and anyway, I got to watch him go from buying tires with a coupon to meeting Sally, the service manager, whose job was to sell him. Uh, she wasn't a service manager; she was in sales, but she managed the service as well as the sales, and she was a very attractive, very dynamic, very persuasive young woman. And she and Billy kind of hit it off, and she ended up selling him some serious upgrades on the tires and some wheels and some extra work that he needed on his truck, alignment, some suspension parts. By the time he got done, his bill was like it was like 5 grand to get his truck to where she wanted it to be. And the way she sold that was she helped Billy see what's possible. You know what I'm saying? She helped Billy see that if he would do these things, put these really cool tires and, raise it up a little bit and put these really cool tires and these really awesome rims on his truck, he would be the man. And so I got to watch that all unfold, and I created a little scenario out of it, and you'll get to experience a little bit of that in Money Study Group. But that's where this guy came from. But this is his plan. I just set it up so I could show you how it all works. So one thing I want you to know, starting out, how it all works, is you've got navigational links. So just look at this. You've got the upper navigation. And when I click on one of those, like I just clicked on investment, I just clicked on retirement, and all across the top of that page, you see the upper navigation. And then there's lower navigation, and each of those upper navigation links has then another series of lower navigation links. So I hope you're seeing that in your plan. And when I click, we're going to go from the 3 upper navigation that we're going to use the most. You're going to start in dashboard, so that's fine. Start in dashboard, and you get to see the lower navigation and dashboard. But we're also going to go to profile. Profile is probably the most important upper tab. You can see that you've got the 6 data cards that you initially had to complete right there. Goals, income, saving, expenses, family blueprint, and all that. And then the middle one, retirement. I just clicked on retirement. And that is when I talk about the most important screen, this is it. Because this is where, if you scroll down, you have action items. And you don't need to become an expert in RightCapital at all. I just want you to know where some of the cool things are inside of this financial planning platform. And so those are the 3 upper tabs I just want you to be familiar with. You've got dashboard, retirement, and you're going to need these for your capstone. And then profile. Profile is where you're going to go to do everything. Everything you need to enter in your plan, you're going to do right here in profile. This is where you're going to add accounts, you're going to add insurance. And if you decide you want to link your account, you can do that by clicking on aggregation. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say allow. Now, I just want to mention about linking accounts. I couldn't care less if you link your accounts. You don't get extra points for it. I don't care if you do it. Please don't send me an email or bother telling me that you don't feel comfortable linking your accounts in RightCapital. I get that. I'm telling you, though, this. Whether you're a client, and I have lots of clients who just are afraid to put their credentials into a third-party piece of software. Totally get that. Excuse me. So I'm not trying to encourage you to link your accounts. However, I do want you to know that if you link your accounts, you open up additional features inside of the software that can be helpful. And that's how you would do that. You would just link your account. Let me see if I can get out of that, close that. So that's where you would do that. You just link account. And then you'd go to aggregation. So if you're a client and we work with Charles Schwab, then I could link your account. If you're a client, I do that because I'm managing your money at Charles Schwab, so I link your account. if you're a client. But since you're a student, you have the option. And I didn't want to get sidetracked on that. I just know that when I mention linking your accounts, I'm going to get feedback that you don't feel comfortable doing that, which is fine. However, when we go to savings, let's see, dashboard. I'm going to dashboard, and I want you to just see this budget. Budget is a cool tool inside of RightCapital budget. But you won't have that if you don't link your accounts. So if you want to use RightCapital to create a budget, then you will want to link your accounts. Link your debit card, your credit card, whatever you use as your spending vehicle. Like I have this Wells Fargo. This is my personal card. I'm not showing you the number, but that's my personal card. And then I have a business card. So at any rate, in my financial plan, I link those because I want to keep track of where the money's going. I want you to keep track of where your money is going too. But you can do that in your bank. Your debit card will keep track of every transaction. And if you end up doing the blueprint assignment at the end of the semester, you will be required to give me your spending for the entire semester. And you have to use an app to capture that. So just FYI. You do not have to use RightCapital though, but if you want to, that's how you'll do it. So back to profile, add account. That's where you're going to be able to add the accounts that we'll get to as we move forward. But for now, I want to show you a very special little 3 dots, because when this week's assignment is the Credit Crush assignment, and you have to click on those 3 dots to go to the debt section. And this is where you're going to be doing most of your work. So I'm going to have to speed up. I'm going to have to talk less, cover more ground, because I want to make sure I give you a good, clear instruction. It's really difficult in summer school because we're basically compressing everything, and I'm trying to do it in 1 hour a week, which is probably not smart, but I'm going to continue to do that because my schedule is such that that's just how it works. So I'm giving you 1 hour of lecture each week, when in reality, I should be giving you, 3 hours of lecture each week, or whatever. But I'm sticking to the plan because I've got appointments. I am an adjunct, so this isn't a full-time gig for me, and I apologize if it seems like we're rushing, but it's summer school, and guess what? We're rushing. So this is your debt strategy. Just remember those 3 dots. You're going to have to remember those 3 dots, because it used to be debt was one of the upper navigation links, and it was super easy to find, but now you have to go click these 3 dots. And this is where you're going to get to add action items. So highest to lowest interest rate, when I open that up, you have 3 different options. You see that? 3 different options. Now, the problem is for you right now, you don't have any debt in your plan. And that's why this week's assignment requires you to do 3 things. 3 things you're going to have to add to your plan. In addition to changing your birthday, and by the way, to change your birthday, you'll go to Profile. That's where you go to make most all of the changes in your plan. Frankly, that's where you're going to make all of the changes in your plan. Profile. And then family, when I click on family, you'll see that there's Billy right there. So if this is your plan, it would be your data card. And when I click on that, if I shrink it down a bit, you'll see the birthday. And this is where you are going to make sure that you add 10 years to your age, which means you're going to make your birthday 10 years before you were actually born, so that you will have a date, a birthday, an age rather, that is appropriately 10 years more than what you actually have. So let me just walk you through some of the things you're going to need to enter. And this is all spelled out in your assignment, but I just want you to see what you're going to be working on. So you're 10 years older, you changed your birthday. one of the things I want you to do is change your income. And again, this is where you're going to have to decide, you're going to have to do a little research to figure out how much money will you make if you get that job that you hope to get when you graduate. And this is where you're going to put it. So you can start there. This week, that's one thing you'll need to do is just add your income. Then there's expenses. Now, you can do expenses using this simple approach right here. That's fine. No, actually, it's not fine. Actually, I want you to do a detailed worksheet. That's what I want you to do. So I want you to give your, and this is just expenses. This isn't really a budget. This is just a list of expenses. But here's why it's important. Your expenses will determine some really important numbers way out in the future. And if your expenses are really low, then you're going to find that your financial plan is going to have a lot of surplus at the end, because you're definitely going to increase your income. And when you go back to your income, let me just show you that again. When we go to income, if we say, in this case, Billy's making $84,500 a year, and annual increase right there is 1%. Now you can do whatever you want. Just tell me what you're doing and why you're doing it, what research you used. If you say, I'm going to make $100,000 a year and it's going to grow by 4%, awesome, that's great. Just make sure you think through what numbers you're entering in your income. Because that income is going to make huge numbers at the end of your plan if you have no expenses to offset the income. And that's what happens a lot with students who don't really think about or don't understand the cost of living. And that's why these expenses become important. So I want you just to create a list of expenses, and you can't use the detailed approach. I want you to use, you must use the detailed approach. So that's your assignment. Go ahead and just think about your expenses, do a little research. Don't spend a ton of time on this. It shouldn't take long. Just, I want you to think about the major categories of expenses that you're going to have. And if you want to add categories, you can do that too. When you jump in here and you do the detailed worksheet approach, somewhere in here you can add a category. But we're not going to mess with that right now. The categories that are there are pretty good, and I'll show you how to add a category if you want to know later. So you're going to do that. You're going to, your income, your expenses, just your idea of what the expenses will be 10 years down the road for you. So that's a couple basic things. Next, I want you to add, not expenses. Go to net worth. By the way, net worth is like the single most frequent link section of this RightCapital financial planning portal that you're going to use, because when you're here, this net worth profile, net worth, that's where you're going to go to add accounts. So you're going to add 3 accounts. And they're all lined out in your assignment. But number 1, you're going to do, by the way, I think I have nice little animated video to show you each of these. So income, and then we'll go to expenses next. Let me get this out of the way. I'll put that in the way. So this is a snapshot. This is your retirement analysis, what you're seeing on the screen. And that retirement analysis changes when you make changes to your expenses and your income, obviously. And that's one of the things I want you to learn along the way, is just how these different inputs make a difference in the projection of your financial plan. That's just part of what you're going to learn. So expenses. Now, I want to tell you the 3 things you're going to add to your plan. We've already worked on income and expenses. So now let's talk about adding your home. When you go again, you're going to profile and you're going to net worth and you're going to add your home. So when I say add a home, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to add your mortgage, because when you buy your house, you're going to need a loan, a mortgage. So that means you're going to have to do a little research this week. First of all, to figure out, where am I going to live when I get this job that I really want? Is it in Houston? Is it Baltimore? Is it, New Jersey? Is it, hopefully not New Jersey, because let me just tell you, New Jersey, in my opinion, is not a great place to live because taxes are really high. And anyway, maybe it's LA. I don't move to LA. Houston's good. Just saying, pick a place. When you pick a place, then you're going to pick a neighborhood, and then you're going to pick a house. And you got to do a little research to figure out, how much is that house going to cost? And you're going to need to know, and I'll show you why in just a minute, you're going to need to know, how much is the house going to cost? What's the interest rate on the mortgage? How much is that going to be before you're going to know what the payment is? So you're going to have to do some research this week to think about, okay, pretend you're 10 years older, you have a job, and you're going to buy a house. And your house has all these different elements, like the original amount you pay, how much is your down payment, what's your interest rate, how long is the loan. It's all right there in the data card. But I want you to figure that out, do a little research, enter that data card, and then boom, you now have a house. Then you're going to also add the actual property, and you'll see how to do that in a minute. So you're going to add the home, and once you've done that, now the next thing you're going to purchase is a car. I want you to buy a car. So the way you do that, you do the same thing. You go to your profile, you go to net worth, and you're going to add an account. So that's a screen recording I did while I was putting this lesson together. But that's what you're going to do. You're going to select car loan, and now you're going to have to do some research and figure out, what type of car are you going to buy? I want you to go all out here. I want you to buy your dream car. Like if you wanted a Tesla, I don't even know what the most expensive Tesla model is, but I'd kind of like to have a Tesla, but I'd rather have an engine than an electric vehicle. But at any rate, you get to pick whatever car you want, but make it an expensive car, because this is the Credit Crush assignment. And because you're going to have these credit accounts, the home, the car, and then we're going to do credit card. But these are the accounts that I'm going to use to help you see how to manage your payments in such a way that you can maximize your strategies with debt. And that's really the purpose of this week's assignment, is to help you have practical knowledge about how credit works, and how it can get you stuck and how you can get unstuck. So that's that. So next is the credit card, and it's not that different. You're going to add a credit card account. I would call it, if you have a credit card, I would use that credit card title. Like if I have I just showed you, I think I showed you, I don't know if you could see it, but my credit card is with Wells Fargo. So I would say Wells Fargo. But here's the thing I want you to do that's important. And this is, again, you're making stuff up in your plan, because I want to be able to teach you some things. And so you need some data in your plan that isn't necessarily realistic, but it's data that will give you, will help you see how it works. So in your credit card, for example, you need, my wife just sent me a text. I don't know if that showed up on the screen, but at any rate, where was I? On your credit card, you need to spend at least $10,000. So you're going to have to do a little research to figure out, what kind of interest rate are you going to be spending on your credit card. Now, what I'm showing you on the screen right now is not that important, but if you want to see actual transactions from your credit card, then this is a cool tool, and it is included. You can use it if you want to. But again, please don't send me an email and say, I don't want to link my account. I don't care if you do or not, but it is a pretty cool tool, and it will give you a lot more data if you decide to link your credit card. So at any rate, you need to have a balance on your credit card, and you may have to just make one up. If you use your real credit card, that's fine, but add another credit card with at least $10,000 of a balance with an interest rate that you think is the appropriate interest rate for you for a credit card with a $10,000 balance. And then we're going to show you how to get that information, to use that information in your financial plan. So let me see if I can give you a better, okay, here we go. This is what's going to happen. Apparently, my wife's sending me more text messages. Sorry about that. So let me just get, so what we have here is, this is where it all comes together. Remember I told you about those three dots? Let me just take you, well, I'm going to take you to the three dots. And you should be able to see, now I've got Billy's plan up here. So when I go to those three dots, I'm in Billy's plan, so it doesn't, I just want you to see. Right now it says Billy has, and I'll tell you, this is going to be the most important screenshot for this assignment. For this assignment, you're going to take a before and after screenshot. So right now we've got Billy set up highest to lowest. I'm going to change that to same priority for all debt. I think that's the default in your plan. You see Billy has a lot of debt. So I'm changing it back to same priority for all debt. And I'm just going to hit refresh. If you don't hit refresh when you make these changes inside of these data cards, nothing will happen. So now you see we have 0 savings, and that's what you should see, and that's your before screenshot, okay? Now if I go down and I say, okay, now remember, in your plan, you have to actually have these debt data cards set up for your house, your car, and your credit card. And then once you do that, you will see that you have a list of your credit, just like we have for Billy. And Billy's got a whole bunch that need to be deleted, because I think I mentioned this is a Frankenstein plan, so it's bizarro. But at any rate, you have these three different options, and I want you to just play with these. The whole purpose of this assignment, this week's lesson, is for you to play with your debt strategies so that you can see how this strategy or that strategy impacts your outcomes. And since you may or may not have debt in your life right now, part of this week's assignment and part of the capstone assignment is for you to make some assumptions and pretend that you're 10 years older and you do have some debt, because that's how you're going to learn how it works. So I hope you'll go with that. So you have three options, same priority, that's the default. And then the one that's really the most popular is highest to lowest. So you pay the credit card with the highest interest and you load up on that one, and you're essentially doing what Dave Ramsey calls the snowball effect, where you pay off the credit cards. Now, actually, that's not true, because if we did the Dave Ramsey, we would do the lowest to highest balance. And the reason Dave Ramsey likes this, and it makes sense, the reason that he likes it is because you take the lowest balance and you attack it with more money, and you eliminate that entire account. You eliminate the balance in that entire account fast, because you take the smallest one and you just bang it with extra money and you get it eliminated. And then you have extra money to use for the next smallest account. And you just keep doing that, and he calls that the snowball. And it's great. It works. And if you do that, that's great. Just do whatever you want to do and tell me how it looks. And that means give me a screenshot. So let's just do lowest to highest balance. And don't forget, you have to hit refresh. So again, the Frankenstein plan looks like we have 657 million. That's too much. That's crazy. That's ridiculous. If you have a number like that, you're going to get a 15-point deduction on this assignment. Because now, if you have that much of a balance or that much of a savings, it means something's wrong. Now, in this plan, there's lots wrong, and you can see what it is. If we go to payment, here, and yeah, I want you to do this. You saw how I clicked on payment, and then we can go to details, and we can pick whichever one we want. And that's what I want you to do. I just want you to experiment. But in this case, we've got the strategy is lowest to highest balance. Let's see what happens if we go highest to lowest interest rate. And this is the one that seems most reasonable for most people to attack their credit, is to pay the accounts that have the highest interest rate. And it does make sense, and it does work. They both work. Both of these strategies, the highest to lowest interest rate and the lowest to highest balance, they both work. The point is you're getting rid of your debt along with those credit card charges, the interest rates. You're getting that eliminated so that your plan can grow in value without getting deteriorated like a cancer from credit card bills. That's what happens if you've got anything that looks like this plan. And if that's true, if you do have as much debt as this Frankenstein plan has, then you're going to see some ridiculous numbers, because as soon as you start to pay them off, you're going to eliminate, you're going to save a tremendous amount of money. So that's that. And they're both about the same. But that's what I want you to do. And then I want you to just look at the payments and see what's different. And one of the things you can do right here is when you do lowest to highest, or whether you do the interest rate or the balance, whichever approach you want to take, you can also increase the amount that you're going to spend. So let's say I wanted to put an additional $500 each month towards the strategy. Don't forget to hit refresh, and it should make that number even bigger. But I think right now we have a problem with this Frankenstein plan. That number is so outrageous. So I apologize for that. I just wanted you to see what you're going to do. But this will be the most important screen that you'll do this week, because you're going to show me, let me hit the refresh. You're going to show me, first of all, okay, now look, that has total savings of 113,000, and I just took it to the same priority for all, but what I didn't change back is this $500. So pay attention to that. That's a great tool for you to use to just experiment with your debt and see what happens if I do this. What does that do? So if Billy were to just increase his debt payments, his credit payments by $500 a month, he'd save 113 grand, but he stays in debt for just as long. And if you look at the details, you can see monthly. Well, wanted to see. So somewhere in here, I don't know why it's not showing. We can see, there you go. You can see the payment. And this is, so I'm going to spend a minute talking about this. So this is kind of the crux of this entire assignment. My wife keeps texting me because we're working on a project together, and sorry about that, but my wife, she is somewhere in here, I think. I wanted to show you my wife. Here we go. I'm going to show you my wife, and then I'll come back to this. So this is my best friend forever, Connie, my wife. And Connie and I got married in, gosh, it's been a long time ago. Let me get rid of this and get rid of that. And then you can just enjoy some pictures of my beautiful bride. We got married, we met in college, and we actually met in Bible college. So we both grew up in Christian families, and so we were kind of given Christian values, family values, things that seem really old-fashioned these days. But my wife Connie and I got married, and when we got married pretty young, I was 19, she was 18 when we got married in college. And we had our first child when I was 20 and she was 19. But when we got married, we were betrothed. Okay, that's a new word maybe for you. And it is one of the things I want you to do for your class collaboration this week. Your secret class collaboration question is this: what what do you think? How do you feel about the idea of betrothal? So Connie and I, when we got married, we were betrothed. And that's an old-fashioned term. If you look it up, you'll see what it means. But what it meant to us, and what I think it means in general, is when you get married, everything I have is yours, and everything you have is mine. There's not like I have this stuff and you have that stuff. I have this account, you have that account. It's we are one. We are one, and everything we have is each other's. That's betrothal. That's very different than a prenuptial. And most people, I don't know about most people, a lot of people, as a financial planner, I can tell you a lot of people when they get married, especially if it's a second marriage or a third marriage, they have, excuse me, they have a prenuptial agreement. So what I want you to think about and what I want you to share with me in a discussion in Money Study Group, or you can leave your comments in the you can leave your remarks in the comments below and just grab a screenshot. But I want to know, what do you think about betrothal? Do you think when you get married, if you decide that you want to spend your life with someone, or get married, is your philosophy, is your approach, is your value system going to be that you become one, that you share everything? Or are you going to be totally separate and you have yours and she has hers, or he, her, whatever? You get the point. I'm curious, what do you think? How do you feel about that? Now, I'll just tell you, in my opinion, that a marriage is for life. I mean, my wife and I got married and we committed to one another for life. We had no idea. Now, it's been times when we really wanted a break. I'm not going to lie. It's not been easy. We've been married 40 some years. We got married in 82, so 43 years we've been married. She's my best friend and she says I'm her best friend. I love her, she loves me, but we're committed together. And it's my job, I feel like it's my job to provide security for her and for my family, and that's my job, and she appreciates that. But I'm curious, what do you think? Like, when you get married, if you get married, would you want to have a prenup, or would you agree with me and Connie that going into a marriage and being all in, betrothed, is a better recipe for a marriage that endures? That's what I think. I think if you go in with a prenup, it's like I'm going in saying, yeah, probably things are eventually going to fall apart. And when they do, I'm taking my money and I'm leaving. So I'm just curious what you think. That is this week's class secret class collaboration. So that was that. So now let's go back to, oh, and I wanted to tell you, one of the reasons that this lesson, the Credit Crush assignment, is so important to me, and I think it will be to you as well, is because it's a very real predicament, okay? And in my life with Connie, we had an experience when after we got married. I made a lot of money. I mean, I made good money. I didn't make a lot of money, but it seemed like a lot of money to me. I made like 70 grand a year, and that was 40 years ago. And the problem was I spent a lot of money, and Connie paid the bills. I didn't pay the bills, Connie paid the bills. And so I didn't see the bills, and I didn't know that a lot of times she would write a check and it would come back with NSF. We didn't have the internet back then, okay? You couldn't check your balances the way you can to know, okay, I have this much in my account. You didn't know. It took time for the mail to go and come, but she would get a return check along with a statement, and it would show that we got charged because she wrote a check that we didn't have enough money in the account for. And the reason that would happen is because I had this card that I could take to a bank. It was called an ATM card. And I could take out cash and I could buy stuff. And I did that because I felt like I deserved that because I made good money. But I was terrible at managing the money. And in addition to that, we would buy stuff. I would buy stuff. Hey, we need new furniture. Let's just go to the rent to own store and we will rent it to own it. So early on in our marriage, I got us buried in debt by doing that over and over. And my wife, Connie, I'm going to show you what happened. Connie started to look at these credit card, she looked at our credit card statements while she was writing the checks. And this is what she would see. And this is just one example. This is Sally's Wells Fargo Visa. And I don't think we had, honestly, we didn't have a credit card, but we had all these accounts where we had bought stuff on credit. So when you looked at the statement, it was the same as a credit card, and they were pretty high interest. So how high of interest are you going to pay on your credit card, on your car payment, on your mortgage? I don't know if I told you this, but when my wife and I got married, we moved to Austin. Couldn't wait to buy a house because we were spending $1,250 a month on rent, which was a lot of money at the time. And it seemed like just pouring it down the commode to me. So I was desperate to buy a house. We finally bought a house. It was a terrible choice, terrible house in a terrible neighborhood for a redonkulous price. And what happened was, at that time in 1980, would have been 1985, we bought this house. Interest rates were like 18%, but we were able to get a loan for 11.5% because Austin, where we lived at the time, had this deal. If you were a first-time homeowner, that you could get access to this money through a bond that was only 11.5%. Think about that. Now that was a good deal at the time for us because interest rates were really high. Today, 11.5% would seem like insane. So what are you going to pay for your interest rates? So back to this list right here. Remember, Connie's writing the checks and I'm out spending the money. Okay, this is kind of how it works in a lot of relationships, but this is back when I was stupid. I'm not stupid anymore, but this is one of the things that helped me turn the corner from being stupid to understanding personal finance. This is what happened. And my wife is looking at the statements, and this is pretty much what she's seeing in essence. She's seeing that, okay, in month 7, we have a beginning balance of $24,750. We're paying interest of $321. And the payment, the minimum payment that we're paying is $153. You can see that's what we're paying every month because that's the minimum payment that this bank will let us take. Now, the truth is, in this Frankenstein plan, probably all of these accounts are set up with minimum payments that are in reality probably less than the financial institution would allow. And think about what that's going to do to those numbers. It's going to make that $653 million number because it's just stupid. And so, but it is what it is. To make the point, I wanted you to see, because this is how it works. You pay the minimum and your interest is going up. Look at that. Every month, the interest goes up. Every month, the balance goes up. You see that? The balance is going up, but you're only paying a minimum payment which stays the same. And every month the interest goes up, and because the interest goes up, the balance goes up, and that's what you call being buried in debt. So the beginning balance and the ending balance, every month the beginning balance minus the payment plus the interest creates the ending balance, which is higher. Look at the ending balances here, all the way to the right. Those are the ending balances, and what are they doing? They're going up, up, and up. And that's what my wife figured out. This is what's happening, Jim. We are never going to get out of debt. And when I saw that and I realized how I had been stupid, it made me want to change. And my wife and I decided to go on a spending freeze. And what happened after that is kind of a crazy story, but we're out of time. So next week, maybe I'll tell you the story, or maybe I'll just pop in and tell you the story sometime throughout the week about what happened when Connie and I went on a spending freeze and the big fight we got into because one of us didn't honor the other one. We went on a spending freeze committing that we would spend no money, buy no toys, and one of us, I'm not going to tell you who, decided that there was a toy that this one wanted that was worth disrespecting the other one, and the other one found out about it, and we had a fight. And so, yeah, I'll tell you that story sometime. But it came from this experience that I want you to learn from, which is the credit crush, where you have to recognize what they're doing to you with your credit. They're going to charge you a minimum payment and an interest rate, and that's going to create a situation where your ending balance just goes up and up, and then you're going to get another credit account and the same thing's going to happen, and that's how you get buried in debt. And I don't want you to be buried in debt. So don't forget, this week's class collaboration question is about betrothal. What is it? How do you feel about it? What do you think? That's it. This secret class collaboration. Okay, whoa, what did I just do? I just messed with sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to end it now because we have gone too long. I hope you have a great week. You're doing a great job on the assignments. Get them in early. Friday by 3 p.m. you get an extra 10 points, and you get my input. If there's something you're missing or something you've done wrong, I will tell you, you did this wrong. Go back and fix it and resubmit it on time by Tuesday at 10 a.m. And then you will still get the extra 10 points after you make the corrections. If you do that, though, make sure you leave a little comment and say, I'm resubmitting this because I missed something the first time. Okay, early, Friday by 3 p.m., you get an extra 10 points. Some of you are really going to need that this semester, the extra 10 points. So just submit your assignments early, Friday by 3 p.m., so they're in my queue, and I will review them and get them ready, get them back to you with my comments. Okay, I'm going to hit the finish button.